about the second one. This is what starts on day one of the second Trump term, I believe, is the mass deportation of 3 million federal bureaucrats out of Washington, D.C. That is how you drain the swamp. We're not holding back. You want to save this country. That is how you drain the swamp. Shut down these agencies. Go straight down the list. U.S. Department of Education, shut it down. ATF, shut it down. FBI, shut it down. You go straight down the list. You cannot reform these agencies. You want to get in there and afuera, shut it down. That's the future of this country. 3 branches of government in the United States, not 4. The managerial class, this is a war in this country. And I don't call this a war lightly. Right? War is one of these things that speaks itself into existence. But I mean this in a deep sense. We are at war as we were in the American Revolution. It is not between Democrat and Republican. It is not between black and white, or man and woman, or gay and straight. No. This is a war between the managerial class in the deep state and a everyday citizen in this country. This is a war between those of us who love the United States of America and our founding ideals, and those who hate this country and what we stand for. And right now, more than ever, we need a commander-in-chief who will lead us to victory in this war. And that man is your 47th president, Donald J. Trump, the next president of the United States of America, who's going to be right here with you tomorrow night. And this is your moment to send him back and save this country. I love it. That is who we are, represented in those stars and stripes on that flag. I am sick and tired of celebrating our diversity as a country, obsessing over our differences. Our diversity does not mean a damn thing unless we have something that unites us across that diversity. That is who we are. We are American, and we are proud of it. We're going through a crisis of self-confidence in this country. You got young people in this country. You got all people in this country. We are lost, hungry for purpose. We're hungry to be part of something bigger than ourselves, yet we cannot even answer what it means to be an American. I am proud to be a citizen of this country. I am proud that my parents came here with nothing, and I have founded multi-billion-dollar companies, ran for U.S. president at the age of 38 as the youngest ever Republican to run for that office. That is possible in this country because America is great. America is good. It is the greatest nation known to mankind, and I will not apologize for our nation. That is who we are. We're not some sorry third world banana republic that uses the court system to decide who becomes the president of the United States of America. We the people decide who becomes the president of the United States of America. That is who we are. That is who we've always been. What are we running to? We're running from something. What are we running to? We're running back to a country where you are free to speak your mind as long as I get to in return. Where you get ahead with your own hard work and your commitment and your dedication. That if you play by the rules and work hard, you do get to live a good life and enjoy the American dream in this country. Where you don't have to choose between speaking your mind freely and putting food on the dinner table. Between the American dream and the First Amendment, to say this is the country where you get to enjoy both of those things at the same time. The country where we the people decide at the ballot box who governs, not unconstitutionally infected prosecutors in godforsaken places like New York. That's who we are as Americans. And if we revive that, we don't have to be this nation in decline anymore. We don't have to be at the end of ancient Rome. I truly believe this. I'm not going to be. I told a smaller group of students here earlier today this. I'm not going to be the guy who comes in here and peddles fake optimism to you. A lot of people who wanted me to be that guy in the presidential debates last year. It's not the truth. I can tell you it's morning in America right now. It's not. You have eyes. You can see it. But it can be. I'm not going to come in here and tell you the American dream is alive and well. That's one of the standard lines you're supposed to say if you're running for president. It is not alive and well. It is alive and hanging on for life support. But it can be alive and well again if we end the Fed and actually grow the economy and end the administrative state and actually unlock this country and do the things we actually need to get done. It can be alive and well again. But that is going to take sacrifice. It is going to take a fight. It is not going to be the man you're going to hear tomorrow night. It's not just going to be Donald Trump coming from on high down to save us. He's going to do his part. I promise you that. I promise you, whatever it is, I will do my part to save this country. But if we're going to save this country, it is going to be because we save ourselves, every one of us, every one of you doing your part as our founding fathers did in 1776. This isn't somebody else's job. This is your job this year in your country to reclaim it. That is who we are. And if we do, then I will look my two sons in the eye and tell them and mean it, that this is still the country where no matter who you are or where your parents came from or what your skin color is or how long your last name is, that you will still get ahead in this country with your own commitment and dedication without fear, and that whatever your God-given potential is, you have the chance to achieve it in the United States of America. That is who we are. Thank you, guys. God bless you and your families. And may God bless our United States of America. Do not stop fighting for this country. We will not stop until we get this job done. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Today, let's hear from you. I love it. I will do whatever is required for this country. I promise you guys that. Come up here and tell me what's required. You guys, give it up, sir, right there.
Vivek, you are like the energizer for the party right now. Where do we need to put you in the Trump administration?
Look, I'm not one of these guys who's like, okay, here's my plan and here's, play the jigsaw puzzle. Let's win this election. I will do whatever's required to win the election this year. And then to implement that agenda, I'm going to get it done. The things I laid out for you, I know President Trump in his heart wants to get all of that done. So if I'm participating in the 2 mass deportations of illegals from this country and effective illegal bureaucrats from Washington, D.C., I'm a happy man. And then we'll get on with the next 250 years after that. There you go. Get back there.
I don't want to go. Move.
Yep, just ask it to me. I can't see it really, but there you go.
How can we get you to come to Pennsylvania? How can we get you to come to Pennsylvania?
Yep. Well, look, I've considered the invitation accepted. And I've already come a few times. We did some grassroots voter mobilization already, even after I dropped out of the race. Come this right now, you got me, held my feet to the fire, you have my commitment. Pennsylvania's a must. We got to do it. And this election's going to be won by razor-thin margins. We don't want to show up on November 6th, wake up that morning, and ask ourselves, what else could I have done today? Ask yourself that question now. And now is your time to answer it. Answer that not on November 6th, but answer it today. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'll see you in PA.
Vivek, good to see you. I'm a pastor from Iowa. You ran a fabulous campaign in Iowa. God bless you. God bless your family. I'm also a missionary in Armenia. And I noticed that you have spoken about Armenia. I was a witness to the ethnic cleansing of Nagorno-Karabakh, Artsakh, and the desecration of the oldest Christian churches in the world. It's the oldest Christian nation. How are we as the United States persecuted Christians in places like the South Caucasus and the Middle East? How can we do that? And how can we stand for freedom and liberty and justice for our country and allow these Christians to be persecuted the way they have been in places such as Armenia?
Well, thank you, Pastor. Good to talk to you again. And I'm glad you're raising this because I want to answer this in a way that really clarifies the answer here. Because you might hear about this. I was the only presidential candidate who spoke about this because it's important. There's 120,000 Armenian Christians who were displaced from their homeland in the Artsakh region. Does that mean that we should be going to war and fighting somebody else's war for their border? As I've opposed it in Ukraine, we shouldn't be doing it in Armenia either. But actually, here's the dirty little secret. It is actually the U.S. taxpayer, all of us, who is funding Azerbaijan to actually do it. That's the ugly underbelly of the whole thing is our own taxpayer dollars are paying for it. So the irony is everybody who's somehow in the Ukraine caucus, which is the most popular political party in the United States of America apparently, doesn't have a peep to say about actually the real human rights travesty that we're responsible for funding. So here's my belief. It's controversial, but I'll say it anyway. The first and sole moral duty of U.S. elected leaders is actually to the citizens of the United States of America. And we stand with our allies by not funding the very people who are trampling over them. And you have 120,000 reasons for me to continue to talk about this issue as I will, and I'm hoping to travel to Armenia later this year to actually make the point. So thank you, my man.
I'll invite you. Come with me.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Great to see you.
What besides pray is the most important thing we young people can do for our country?
I'll give it to you. How old are you? He says, young people. Huh?
I'm 14.
You're 14 years old. Give this young woman, a round of applause. That's a brave question. So I'll tell you, right now, I think we have a culture of fear in this country. Spread like an epidemic, faster than COVID-19, okay? All 60 directions. COVID, maybe it'll spread a little bit if you cough this way. Fear spreads all directions. Here's my ask of you. When you find yourself in a room and you are the only person who believes what you do, I'm going to ask you today to stand up and say it. Say it with a spine and say it with conviction. But part of respecting your neighbor and your friend is to tell them what you actually believe. And if you do that, you know what? Fear has been infectious, but courage can be contagious too in this country. It just requires more people like you to actually step up and show it. So yes, pray, number one, and number two, speak your mind and don't apologize to anybody for it. That's really what it means to be a young American today. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Vivek, just want to say, longtime fan, longtime supporter. I'm 18 years old. I'm here from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And seeing your passion, seeing your drive, it's just so encouraging to a young conservative like me. One day I want to be on the stage like you, encouraging young Americans, young and old in this country, just like you. And my question for you as a Christian in the political landscape, in the political arena, how can the Christian Church of America, which is so important to revitalizing the American dream, how can we get involved? What are good ways?
So look, I think this is such an important question as I talked about individual, family, nation, and God. It's not a four-letter word. And part of what's happened is the same way we apologize for our own nation as the United States of America, I think a lot of Christians have been taught to apologize for who they are or what their faith actually is. That's part of the reason. The question about Armenia, the last guy was standing where you are. The reason you don't hear about the Armenian human rights catastrophe is because the victims in that case are actually Christian. And the reality is, you need to stop apologizing for your beliefs. We all need to. I'm Hindu. You know this. I believe in one true God. I believe He puts us here for a purpose. But I will say it is a lot harder to be any faith than any other faith that's harder to be today in the United States. It is to actually be Christian because you're taught that you're supposed to apologize for your beliefs. And I reject that. Our founding fathers rejected that. And so part of this is going to require some sacrifice, even when it's not popular to say. Tell people why you believe in God. Tell people why you believe in Christ. Tell people why you live the life the way you actually do and embody that by example And here's what I see, especially young people. You said you're 18. A lot of young people are quietly hungry for something bigger, right? They've been served social media algorithms. They've been served other religions, wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, COVIDism, globalism, Fauciism. You go straight down the list. These are the climate religion in particular. Why do you see people bending the knee to, Greta Thunberg being some type of modern Joan of Arc figure? It's because if you stop believing in God, you're going to believe in some other false idol instead. You might as well believe in the real thing. And I'm going to ask you to make sure you're expressing your beliefs to give other people the permission to express theirs too. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it.
Hi, Vivek. Great to see you again. My name is Tyler Sonkran. I'm a 24-year-old from Waterford, Michigan, and I'm running for township trustee. I had the opportunity to ask you this question once and bumped into you in a hallway, but your answer was very inspiring, and I want you to share that with any young people out here who are considering running for office. My question to you was, I'm the youngest person in my race. You are the youngest person in your race. How did you use your youthfulness to your advantage?
Well, I used it. I don't remember what we said in the hallway necessarily, but I'll tell you what I believe off the bat right now is our founding fathers were people whose best days in life were still ahead of them, actually. Thomas Jefferson was 33 when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. That's 5 years younger than me. If I can run for president at the age of 38, you imagine Thomas Jefferson starting an entire nation at the age of 33. Alexander Hamilton was a decade younger even still. You think about the last 20 years of misplaced public policy, foreign wars that didn't advance our interests, racking up $34 trillion of national debt that your generation now bears on its shoulders. You know what? You got to take it into your own hands to say, you're going to be the generation that pays the price for those mistakes. You're going to be the generation that bears the responsibility for getting us out of it. So if our founding fathers could do it in 1776, then it's just as true today that it will take somebody like you, whose best days in life are still ahead of you, to see a country whose best days are still ahead of itself. And if you do, then I'm confident our best days will actually still be ahead of us, man. Good luck. I'm excited for you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Go right here.
Good afternoon, Michigan. Good afternoon, Vivek. I just want to say your media team and all the social media, TikTok, YouTube, everything you do, you've done a wonderful job getting your message out to the youth, to the younger demographics. To the broader conservative audience and the broader conservative figures, what can they do to better grasp that younger demographic that we all know is so important to the future of this country?
So here's what I see, actually. I've talked to a lot of good Republican politicians. I think a lot of them are actually, I don't say this derisively, I just think it's true. They're actually scared of interfacing with people from the next generation. And part of what we got to realize is both sides of that have some fear in them. Right? I think a lot of young people in this country right now are lost, hungering for meaning and purpose at a moment when faith in God and belief in your country, belief in yourself, belief in your family have disappeared. And yet, you have people from an older generation of political leaders who look at those young people who are sometimes screaming their beliefs, not because they actually believe them, but because they're lost and hungering for actual direction, hide. Go into their shells, saying they're not going to come to a college campus unless the questions are pre-screened. And so I think that gets us into this vicious negative cycle. And so my answer to my fellow Republican leaders, you could say, I'd say tell the Democrats the same thing too, but this is for our own party, is show up where you're not supposed to. Show up without fear. If you want to lead a country, lead the entire country, young and old, black and white. Not 100% of people are going to agree with you, but that's okay. And that's what I respect about what Donald Trump's doing now in this phase of the campaign. Going to the South Bronx. Look at where this People's Convention here is right now, in the middle of hard blue Detroit, in the cities of this country. If you show up for the people will show back up for you. America First includes all Americans. And if we embrace that message, I think we have a chance to win this in a landslide. Thank you, man. I appreciate the question.
So as someone who has grown up in the public school system, I'm about to enter my senior year, and I'm so sick and tired of seeing the corruption within administration and their willingness to bend over backward for these leftist ideals. What can I do to help stand up when it feels like everyone in power is so against me?
Well, look, I think that a lot of the people elected to Congress, let's start with the rules of the road here. We have lost our sense of citizenship in this country, right? We don't pledge allegiance to our own country anymore, not really. And that's why I stand by a position I adopted last year. I think every high school senior should be able to pass and should have to pass the same civics test that every immigrant has to pass to become a voting citizen of this country, and take the same oath of loyalty to the United States of America in order to become a full citizen of this country. Now, if you're in public office, I don't think that in any office, but certainly in public office leading this country, you can't have conflicting loyalties. You can't have a loyalty to your pocketbook while you're actually governing this country. End trading of individual stocks for the bureaucracy and for Congress. End lobbying for 10 years or more after you've left the government. You shouldn't be able to lobby that government. That's the source of the corruption. But here's my view is, and I don't think we should have dual citizenship for people who are serving in public office either. That's also something that's a touchy issue. But I believe in that. But I think what you're going to see is if we see our public officials demonstrate greater loyalty to our own citizens, then our citizens will actually start pledging loyalty and allegiance to our nation once again. And I think those two things are going to work together. So the first part comes first. Send somebody who's a real outsider into the White House, back to the White House this time around, and to clean the house this time. But then it's going to be bottom up, your generation to step up and say, okay, you guys are doing your part. Now as a young person, I'm going to step up and do mine and actually pledge allegiance to making the sacrifices needed to save our country. So thank you very much. I appreciate that question. Last two, and then I think we're done.
First time I saw you, you were going to Pizza Ranch on your campaign. Got me hooked into politics. I've been listening to podcasts every day ever since. Where can I build experience to go into politics in the future?
I would say don't worry about building your experience to go into politics. Build the muscle of figuring out how you succeed in any way, inside politics or out. You see, this is the thing that we fall into the trap of sometimes. I've fallen into this trap. Every one of you here, a few thousand of you in the audience right now, every one of you has your own God-given gifts. They're not the same as the person sitting next to you. They're not the same as me, and they're not the same as you. Figure out what is your unique God-given gift. Look yourself in the mirror tonight when you go home and say, what gifts have I been given that nobody else has? And then figure out how you use those gifts to do what is right for this country and for yourself in the short time you're given. If you do that, you know what? You could drive your change through politics. It might be through business. It might be through university education. We're going to need to fix all of them to save this country, and I'm going to count on you to get that job done, man. Thank you very much. We'll come right here.
Hi, welcome to Detroit. I'm a Metro Detroit homegirl. I work for one of the big three with the UAW, and I would really like you to take this opportunity to explain to my union brothers and sisters how illegal immigration hurts our industry, hurts our jobs, and why they should turn to the Republican Party instead of staying with the Democrats as the UAW tells us to.
Sure, and the real people we need to be picketing are the people in charge of the current federal government that have given us the flailing economy that leaves every one of those union members holding the bag. So here's my message is, it's not to the union leadership, but to the union membership of this country. Illegal mass migration is eroding our national foundation of who we are. We got the rule of law thrown out the window. But all of those open American jobs are now actually being taken by people who crossed this border illegally rather than those who worked hard and got it done the right way around. So will you agree with the Republican Party on every element of its policy plank? Of course not. That's fine. You don't have to agree with 100% of what Donald Trump says or what the Republican Party says to be able to still say that, you know what, that's the party that's standing for American citizens in this country. You as union members are our fellow citizens, and America first means putting the citizens of our country, including those union members, first. That's my message to your brothers and sisters, and thank you for asking that. Thank you.
Okay,
thank you. Right there. We got a question right there.
One last question.
Yes.
Hi. I'm from Hilliard, Ohio, right next to you guys, actually. And I just want to say thank you for coming, and really appreciate everything you guys do. My question is very simply, I'm 21, and how can I help out in this election cycle? I'm volunteering for Bernie Moreno's campaign for U.S. Senate, and I know he's a great guy, but what else can I do to help out?
Well, thank you, man. What's your name? My Ohio native.
Evan.
Evan. Thank you for coming out here, Evan, and you're 21 years old. The fact that you're asking that question is already a service to this country. I've endorsed Bernie. I'm traveling the state. I'll probably see you campaigning right with you in our home state. Here's what I'll ask of every one of you. For those of you who have money, either you're running for office or you're going to support somebody good who actually is. Take that pocketbook out and actually support the people who can. But it's not just through money. If you don't have money, you got time. Spread the message through your own effort. You don't care if you're knocking on one door, you're knocking on two, or you're making phone calls. However you're doing it, spread your own message and just speak authentically for who you are. Don't speak on behalf of the Republican Party. Speak on behalf of Evan. And I think we don't do that enough in our country today, right? We're taught the scripts that were handed from on high. Just tell the people what you as a citizen of this country actually believe. Tell the person next to you, you don't have to agree with 100% of what I say, just like I'm not going to agree with 100% of what you say. Find the people who disagree with you. The thing you really want to do to help this country in the next 6 months, all of you, is don't just talk to the people in this room. Don't just talk to your friends and family members and your neighbors who agree with you. Do it just like Donald Trump is doing. Show up in the places where you're not supposed to show up. Invite that neighbor who has that Biden sign in their front yard. Invite them over to dinner and challenge them and have an open debate, an open discussion at the dinner table. Emerge as a friend on the other side, but convince them and bring them along. That's what it's going to be required. It's one less vote for the other side, one more vote for ours. And if we start actually talking to the people who we're supposed to disagree with, what we might just discover is that we didn't actually disagree as much as we thought in the first place. That's how we're going to get this country back. That's how we're going to restore respect for every one of our citizens, regardless of their age or their skin color, or even whether they voted Democrat or Republican in the last election cycle. The question in this race, and I'll end with this, is, are we actually one country or not? That's what's on the ballot this November. If I asked that question 10 years ago, you would have said that was a silly question. Of course we're one country. Well, today we live in a country where you got people who consume one set of news from one place, one set of news from a different place. People who buy one type of coffee, people who buy a different type of coffee. The question right now for the country is, are we actually still one nation as the United States of America or not? I don't think the answer is obvious. But in my heart, I believe we still are. And I think this is our last chance to prove it in this country. And if every one of you starts speaking your mind in the open again, you will realize that, you know what? That artificial division, a lot of that is created by the media, designed to divide and conquer our people. At least 80% of us in this country are on the winning side of this war. Half the 20% are people younger than Evan and me who never learned those ideals in the first place. We're going to bring them along too, and we will still be a country whose best days are still ahead and has another 250 years and then some still left in our country's history. Thank you guys for coming out. God bless you and your families. Let's win it this November, and God bless our United States of America. Thank you.